the time for leaders is gone. I feel like in life, like we used to look for people to show us the way. I think now is the time to all each become our own leaders, become sovereign and make our own paths. We don't need to, this hierarchical system of being led into battle or led into war or led, I think it's almost extinct.
Quickly for our listeners and the people who's going to be viewing this episode of the Be and Become project on YouTube, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Kash?
Sure. My name is Kash Khan. I'm a conscious entrepreneur. I ran a conscious media website for the last 8 years. I have my own podcast, and I'm living in Costa Rica just now, where I've, for the last 2 years, been working with different plant medicines, working on spiritual growth and healing, and learning a lot over the last 2 years has really changed my direction in my business, in my personal life, and everything. Everything is much more focused on self-healing, self-development, personal growth, which is the new direction I'm taking. For the previous 6 years, my business was much more centered around raising awareness on issues in the world, like shining a light on the problems of whether it's racism or homelessness or war or poverty. But in the last 2 years, I've been much more focused on, I've came to the realization that the only way to solve all those problems is to focus on yourself. And that's kind of what I'm dedicating my life to now, is helping people to heal themselves so that in the bigger picture, eventually the world will heal through each person individually.
Lovely. Can I just tell you something, right? I really love your accents.
Well, thank you.
Like seriously, yes. The combination of looking at you, closing my eyes, and then listening to you is very strong.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's very.
I think I'm from Scotland originally, so whenever I go abroad, often people can't put the accent and the face together, because they don't expect a man with Asian heritage or skin to be speaking Scottish. So I get a lot of reactions whenever I meet people for the first time, and they don't expect it. So thank you.
Well, it's a telltale sign for how deep they're still stuck inside their own conditioning.
I suppose.
Quite literally. I have the same because I'm from South Africa, Dutch heritage. People look at me and they go, Russian, Eastern Europe, and then I speak and they go, no.
Mm-hmm.
So the confusion, yeah. But it's part of that. It's like we come to the stage where we don't wait for people to judge us anymore. And we just project what we want to show the world. In that case, they know exactly where they stand with us. Kash, can for those people and the communities and everybody that will be participating in this project and everybody who is going to be viewing this interview, where can they go to find you, to perhaps support you?
Sure. So I have some social media channels, and the best way to find me is just by typing in Educate.Inspire.Change into Instagram or YouTube. Recently, we had our Facebook page unpublished, so we're no longer on Facebook. Hopefully, we'll get that page back soon. Also, we have a website, Educate.Inspire.Change.org. So any of those ways, you can contact me, and my email is also available through the website. So I'm very open to speaking to people.
Perfect. And because you stand for a very, very strong cause, and just those three words in sequence, educate, inspire, and change, that says it all. No questions asked at all. Now, the next part of this, quickly what this project is about. So people have been asking certain questions since the beginning of our evolution as a person and then as a society, quite literally. First, when the Indian Vedas was written 4,500 years ago. Before that, they found transcribed writings from ancient Persia, from Mesopotamia, more recent from the Greeks, Plato, Socrates. Now, today, we are sitting here asking these questions. Questions like, what is the self? Questions like, oh my goodness, what's the difference between happiness and success?
Mhm.
These questions that has been asked for such a long time that in effect, the more we ask these questions, the more they evolve our perspective, right? And the more our perspective evolves, brings us to a stage where we realize, listen, you are actually not alone. I mean, life is tough, right? Life is hard. And you know this, like pain is a compass constantly showing us what we need to focus on. But it's only so hard because once we're going through that shit, we think we're going through it alone, but we're actually not. We're not going through it alone because we ask the same questions. And that's what this project is about. It's about cultivating compassion between everybody. Just show everybody that sees this and that participates in this that you're not alone. You've never been alone. You're not alone. So thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. Now, kind sir, you received the list of questions, yes?
I had a brief look through them. Yeah,
Right. Are you comfortable if we start?
I'm comfortable to start here.
Fantastic. Kash, thank you for participating in the Be and Become project. The first question I would like to ask you is, in your own experience and understanding, what is harder, to change or to stay the same?
Um, I think it's definitely harder to change, which is why so many people find comfort within their comfort zones. And many people create a society and live in a society where everything is comfortable and easy. And this creates a kind of a stagnant energy. And in this stagnant energy, often this is where disease and issues and illnesses can manifest. So if I look at nature every day and I watch nature and I learn from nature, and nature never remains stagnant. It's always changing. The leaves are always dropping, they're always regrowing. Animals are always coming and going, butterflies, caterpillars, like it's always changing. And this is the nature of nature. And we as humans have to remember that we are nature also. So we should always be changing, always evolving, always focusing on growing, always trying to be ourselves, be our truest selves. And I find that this is often the more difficult path, is to change, is to grow, because it requires a level of hard work and a level of sacrifice. And most people shaped by modern day society have maybe been born into a specific kind of system where comfort and almost a level of submissiveness is required to be a functioning member of society. Like when you grow up as a child, you're sent to school, and it's a very authoritarian kind of upbringing where you must do as you're told, where you must listen, you must not speak up, you must not, you have to eat when the bell goes, you have to sit down when the bell goes. It's very creating a submissive mindset. We then take this into education, into secondary school and university with us. There's authority figures everywhere telling us what to do, how to think. They're telling us what success means. They're telling us how to live, what to eat, everything. We're not really given much opportunity as children to self-educate, to grow, to learn from adventure and play and exploration. And this for me creates adults that don't want to change.
Yeah.
It creates adults that watch the news and they watch the news and they listen to it blindly. Whatever the news says must be true, because they're used to having authority figures tell them the truth or tell them what they think is the truth. So whenever they see somebody on TV with a shirt and a tie, or anyone with authority, they just believe them blindly, because this is all you know all your life. It's all you've ever been told. And I don't want to diverge too far from the original question, but
this time there's no right or wrong here. This is exactly
sure.
open.
But definitely, I think in simple answers, it's much more difficult to change. And I don't want to make people feel guilty for not changing, because this is the society that we're born into. And it's now up to the few of us that wake up, that realize, to help others to wake up as well, which is why we're talking today, I suppose.
Exactly. A few things stand out there. So number one, and I got a little glimpse of, like, just when you peek out that door, like, and you let some of that passion go out. I love it.
Mhm.
It's like a wave that government, like it's very good. Yeah, very good. Hopefully we get more of that out in here. Secondly, in my experience, I don't think it's that people don't want to change. I think majority of people actually never think about it. Right? I think they're not aware that change is a possibility. And this is literally where education comes in. Because if one does not know that A, B, and C are options, then what I'm experiencing is what is my reality, quite literally. So like it's programs like this, it's people like you that we go into the world and we advocate and we say, listen, this is actually, did you know? Did you ever think about this? Did you ever consider, maybe there's another way of looking things? We are cultivating the different perspectives, showing people that there's a different way of being, there's a different way of living, there's a different way of experiencing. The system that we are in currently is barely 200 years old. Our current system comes from the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution 2020 had its 200 years anniversary of its peak, right? The first time in human history where equal pay was rolled out. So now all of a sudden, if I want to show that I'm better, I don't have to beat the shit out of you anymore. Now I just have to earn more than you so I can buy more and better. And we are now the results of that. 200 years, 7, 8 generations. So change is massively possible. We just have to become aware of it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well said.
Question 2, kind sir. In your own understanding, how would you describe the difference between want and need?
Between oneness and
Want and need.
wants and needs.
Want and need, yeah.
How would I describe the difference between wants and needs?
Yeah.
So I think our needs are very basic. Fundamentally, all we need to live is the air, the land, the food that we grow from nature, and maybe shelter. These are our fundamental needs. Are this, and obviously love and community are a big part of life. But as for wants are almost things that we have created that satisfy our ego, Like, what do you want? I want more money. I want a nicer car. I want a bigger house. I want nice clothes. I want to go on holidays. These are wants that satisfy ego. And I think the world we live in today is very egoic. Obviously, it's a hierarchical system which is built and based on capitalism and more power, more money, more freedom. And I was on the beach yesterday with my friends, and we were sitting on the beach and it's beautiful, we've got coconuts growing in the trees, we have the ocean, we have the sand, we have grass behind us. And I'm thinking, everyone in the world has access to this, like a beach with the ocean and land. This is real abundance. We have an abundance here. There's fish in the ocean, there's coconuts in the trees, there's sun shining on us, there's everything we need is around us. And this is abundance. We can live like billionaires right now on our own private beach. It felt like this, And I think people have just been a little bit, in this society, they've just been sold a lie almost, like they've been given a vision of what they think they need to be successful or happy or to live. And they don't need any of that. You don't need a TV. You don't need, fancy cars. You don't need many, many friends. You don't need clothes to show off. You just need to be grateful, and that's enough. If you can be grateful for all the small things in life, then your frequency changes. Every morning I wake up and I see my children, and I do like gratitude exercise. I just take a 5-minute time in every morning just to be grateful for what I have, and it's always the simple things. I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for the weather. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful that I get to wake up and enjoy the beautiful day ahead. Everyone has these same things, And when you tune into that frequency, that's all you need for the whole day. The whole day just flows easily and nicely because you put things into perspective. I already have everything I need. I already have everything I want. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
Totally, totally. I had this conversation recently with my other half. I know when all of us starts this journey, at some stage or another, you join a program where somebody asks you, you know, what is that perfect picture of freedom for you? Some mastermind somewhere. It's a total different story, right? And I very vividly remember when somebody asked me that question several years ago, like I didn't have a picture because I had never thought that I wasn't free. And it occurred to me very recently, just the fact that somebody asks that question kind of creates this underlying assumption that you are not free. So why would I think of what is freedom for me? So first, in order to answer that, I must think, if I'm not free, what do I want, right? If I'm not free, what will freedom represent for me? And it's the same, like if we're thinking about, okay, what is the next question is, what is the difference between happiness and success, right? But if we go, okay, what will make me successful? In order to answer that question, I must first, some very deep level, think, oh my God, so if I'm not successful, what will make me successful? So it's a catch, literally. It's just the fact that we ask certain questions. Kind of, we might just as well pick up a shovel and go, okay, I'm digging this hole now just so that I can know what it means to stand inside the hole and wants to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next question, Kash. What is the difference for you between happiness and success?
Mm-hmm. Happiness for me is a state of being, you know. It's not something you need to aspire to or achieve or earn. Happiness is when you get out of your own way, when you just really connect with your soul, your true essence, and this frequency of gratitude. And you can just be like in a state of bliss without needing anything. This is happiness, you know what I mean? Because you're not relying on anything external to define you or to give you whatever you need, because you have everything already, you know? So people in life that have experienced true bliss, they tend to know this through meditation, through spiritual practice, through some form of conscious activity, whatever that may be. It might be artists who love to spend hours and hours painting, or musicians who love music. And those moments when they're painting or meditating or doing music, they're experiencing pure bliss because they're happy. They're doing what they love, and nothing else can affect them or change that, you know? So the success is when you rely on external things to define you. Like, I have so much X amount of money, I have X amount of friends, I have X amount of cars, or whatever it might be. This is a success that's given to you by external people, and this cannot, to me, make you happy because it's external, it's not internal. And of course, I'm a man and I have ambition, I have goals, and I like to achieve them. I'm an entrepreneur, but I try not to let my goals define me and as who I am as a person. Take everything away from me, I would like to think that I can still achieve the same level of contentment, happiness, success without the necessity for all these objects, you know, or success.
Take everything away from me, and I'd like to believe that I can still achieve as much as before. That's really strong.
I mean, it's easier said than done, you know, because we live in a 3D world. So we live in a 3D world where we live in a society that requires a level of contribution. You need to make money, we need to survive, we need to live. So I understand this, and I also need to honor this as well, that we need to work to create freedom. That can allow us to have time to meditate, to have time to do things, because we can function in society. It's also one of the reasons why I'm here in Costa Rica, because I feel in a country like this, which is much slower pace, maybe more in touch with spirituality, more, you know, people here like to surf and like to spend time on the beach, and it's less money driven. And coming somewhere like this, I have a vision of one day buying my own land, having my own home, and growing my own food. And when you do this, and your house is sustainable with sustainable energy, how much money do you actually need?
Not a lot. Yeah.
You know, so there are blueprints for ways that we can live which do not require our participation in a system that's bigger than us. So this is, I guess, something that I'm also trying to achieve while I'm here, is to help to form or build a community. I already built online digital communities. I'd love to build physical communities where people can come and live together, help each other, and like I'll give you an example. Like on a typical suburban street in, say, London or wherever, you have 10 homes in a row. Each home has two TVs. Each home has two cars. Each home has a washing machine. Each home has a dishwasher. Each home has a ladder. It's just the level of consumption in those 10 houses is ridiculous. And if those 10 homeowners decided to gather together like a community and discuss and share, then they would realize they only need one ladder. They maybe only need one car or two cars. They only need a few and they can share. And also, certain members in that street maybe dealing with financial issues or troubles or mental issues, and other members on that community can support them. So it reduces the stress, it reduces the illness, it reduces everything. And this is just one little example. And the problem is we live in built-up cities with millions of people where the idea of community is totally gone. It's everyone out for themselves. No one knows their neighbors. Nobody is kind to each other. Everyone just keeps herself in their little box. Even within a home, the children are in their bedroom, the dad's in his room, the mother's in her room. It's like everyone tends to be separate. We're lucky these days if families have dinner together. And this for me is a very fundamental thing that we're missing today. And the structure of family, the structure of community is what really humanity was built on. We were born in small tribes, and this is how we lived. We elected our leaders. The strongest led us. The medicine men were the most wisest men. They could heal us, and they were spiritual as well. And we had mothers would look after each other and protect their families and all this stuff. So nowadays we've lost sense of this community, where we come from, and this is why there's so many types of illnesses in society today, where people are looking for answers in alcohol or drugs or whatever, computer games, any kind of way you can find an addiction. They're looking for answers, and they can't find them in life, so they look for them elsewhere. I myself was the same. For many years in my 20s, I was drinking too much. I was recreational drugs too much. I was gambling, same, and it's just because I'm looking for answers and I can't find them in life. I can't find them at home, so I look for them elsewhere. And it's a sad state of society, because I look at addicts and I just see people who need love. I look at people who are depressed and they just need love, and they don't get it in their life, until they have to find it in other manufactured ways.
Yeah, no, listen, I got off that train about 5 years ago. We can be diplomatic and say I self-medicated myself, but the truth is, I was a fully functioning bloody alcoholic for 10 years of my life, every single day drinking something, quite literally, and the pain just started to outweigh any fear that I might have of change, quite literally. So that was my catalyst. There's so much truth in what you're saying. Originally, our species is only where we are at the moment because of community, because we are stronger when we stand together. Literally 120,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens decided, okay, I'm going to go into Europe now, when everybody started to change into our 7 different genetic lines, that's what made us survive. The men going out, setting traps, hunting. Look at today, the differences between us still. Men can sit and observe and they can wait. Women can multitask like machines massively. I cannot do more than one thing properly. I would be the first person to tell you that. But ask me to sit there and wait and observe something for 2-3 hours, no problem, right? These things are in our genes, quite literally. And it is because, like you said, because of consumerism. In Dubai now, I read about it recently, there's an eco town, right? Which is exactly what you're talking about. Fully functioning eco town. something like, I'm talking on the correction, so you guys listening to this, do not quote me, right? Think 100,000 houses, right? Literally fully self-sustaining, everybody working together, the whole community bind together and working together to help them. It's extraordinary. So there are pockets, isolated pockets globally in some geographic locations where people are like, snapping out of it and going, okay, the time of me wanting to be the king of my own hill, no, it doesn't work anymore, because the blind leading the blind, where are you going? Where are you going? Just as well, like a donkey with eye flaps like this, just thinking it's walking somewhere, but actually like it's just walking in a circle the whole time, because he's milling the maize for food. Many questions to answer. I really like how you think. Totally. Next question.
Sure.
I'd love to hear your take on this one. What does letting go mean for you?
Letting go. It's something I've been dealing with a lot lately, so it's a good time for this question. Like on a personal level and on a business level, I've been experiencing a lot of change lately. And in the past, this kind of drastic change, it would have really affected me in a negative way, because it's like holding onto a rope really tight and someone's pulling it out of your hands. The harder you hold, your hands will start to bleed and you hurt yourself more, So in life, whether it's your business that's been, during COVID, for example, there's many people that have had their businesses destroyed, and also I imagine many relationships, couples have been put under a lot of stress, financially, emotionally, and there's many relationships that will be ending and starting and all this stuff. And I guess for me, it's the ability to let go of these things, and it allows you to move on, to adapt, to change quicker in a less painful way. So it's about letting go of the things around you and not holding on, because holding on can hurt you more. This again takes me back to spiritual practice. Spiritual practice can only be done alone. And when you are alone and you're meditating or you're doing yoga or whatever it might be that your practice is, it reminds you that you are a sovereign being and that everything that you require is within you already. So it's a case of you can let go of everything and just be in a state of complete bliss and being, And in that moment, you don't need anyone or anything to define you. And you're letting go of everything, Because I also want to remember that I'm here in this 3D world, And we chose this existence for a reason. I believe our souls chose to be here. And we are here to, on one level, have a connection to spirit, which is very important. A connection to ourselves, which is very important, but also to be here and be present in each moment and enjoy life. Spend time with your children, dancing in the rain, running across the beach, sitting by trees and all this stuff. So, it's about, like, for me, it's about being present here and now, and also not being attached to everything.
Okay. While we're talking about this, I want to ask you another question as well. That's not in the list.
Sure.
How have you, or what have you come across? Which ways and methods and exercises and processes have you come across during your time of how to let go?
How to let go. It's an act of surrender, During plant medicine ceremonies, I would often encounter very difficult circumstances. For anyone listening, plant medicine, more specifically, I'm talking about ayahuasca, which is a sacred psychedelic visionary plant which you ingest, and it induces very strong visions and experiences and feelings and emotions. And during this time, I realized that the more I resist, the more pain and the more difficult it becomes. So I have to literally lie back and spread my arms and surrender completely. to allow whatever has to happen, and to
Beautiful.
let it come through me and go. So it's about the state, the learning to surrender. Uh, it's a difficult one because our ego never wants to surrender. You know, when we are, there's an interesting story I can tell you. Yeah, there's a man I knew who did a plant medicine called iboga. And iboga is very introspective. It's very deep, very long journey. And he said during his journey, he saw himself and he saw a bird fly into him, and I think it was a tiger, you know. And he said in the beginning, the bird was, you know, beautiful, singing, dancing. The bird was him. This bird was your soul. It's your child. It's like the perfect version of you, you know. And the tiger is there to protect the bird, to make sure no one harms the bird, you know. And the tiger is just sitting in the back, peacefully minding his own business, and the bird is singing and dancing. But then as you grow old in life, as things happen, and things start to attack the bird. Whether it's a parent abusing you, whether you see someone harming someone, whether you see someone killing an animal, or you see war on the TV, the soul gets scared. Your bird gets scared, you know, starts to get upset, and the tiger starts to think, oh, the bird needs to be kept safe. And it keeps the bird safe. And then over the years and years and years, the tiger starts to come more and more and more to protect this bird. And eventually it says to the bird, just you go back, just you stay in the back. I'll take care of this, you know? And so the bird goes away to where it can be safe, where it can't be harmed, and the tiger protects. This tiger is your ego. So your ego is healthy to an extent because it's there to make you survive during traumatic experiences, to help you survive war, abuse, trauma. Your ego protects you. However, when the ego starts to realize that it's there and it goes from being a protector to becoming a tyrant. It starts to protect you and then it starts to dominate. So it makes all your decisions for you. You know, and the voice of your soul is no longer heard. So your ego wants more money, more power, more protection, you know, because the more money you have, the more power you have, the more land you have, the more protected you are. This is what it is. And the men that run the world today, do you know what they are? They're unhealed children. They're children that are not healed because they grow old and they want to impose their power on others. It's like a child who's angry. He's lost his temper. Someone stole his toy. How does he react? He gets angry. He gets frustrated. He makes his fist. He starts to cry. So when you're a man and you have $1 billion in the bank and you have the same feeling, when you impose power on others, it's very dangerous because you can start ignite wars. You can have control massive populations, you know. And this just came up for me during this conversation. You know, it's like a interesting analogy of the ego, the soul, and why the world is the way it is today. And I find it to be really powerful for me. So I wanted to share that.
I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I'm kind of sitting here getting tears in my eyes. Like, I've never heard it described like that. It's beautiful. Little birds, that is your soul, that is meant to be free and fly and sing and be a little bird. And I can this massive tiger at the back, you know, and to protect it. Thank you. I will carry that with me and tell it again, over and over. Elbow, one of my favorite bands, they have a song called The Leaders of the Free World. One of the lines in the chorus says that the leaders of the free world are just little boys throwing stones.
Exactly.
You know, it's true. You know, it's true. The problem is, it is a pattern. We are designed through neuroplasticity and neuroperception. Our build is designed to make connections and to look for connections, literally. And if we don't wake up inside that and go, but what can I different? What can I new? How can I? We just repeat the same shit over and over again, literally, you know? Doesn't matter who we are, doesn't matter where we come from, doesn't matter. It's a blueprint, literally. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you. Before we go on, let's quickly plug ourselves, right? So once again, for you guys listening to this, Kash, where can people support your cause? Where can people go to find out more about you?
So my conscious website is called Educate.Inspire.Change, and you can find it Educate.Inspire.Change.org, or you can search across social media channels. At the moment, I'm putting a lot of energy into Instagram because our Facebook page is unpublished. So you can go on Instagram, you can find Educate.Inspire.Change. We're also on YouTube, and I'm also in the process of building a new app, which is not released yet, but this will be released in the coming, hopefully, weeks. And it's going to be a community-based app where everyone can join for free and support one another. But there will also be groups and courses within the app. So, for example, maybe some people are interested in plant medicine. So there will be plant medicine groups where people can ask questions, find the best retreats, all this kind of stuff. There'll be mental health support groups where people can join groups where they can have conversations like this, but in a group setting, where people can support one another, guide each other, help each other. There'll be groups for communities, which will be like, people that are looking to move abroad and build their own community and want to support each other and come together. And there are also going to be courses, which I'm trying to design one course of my own just now, which is like a course around what we're talking about, waking yourself up, gaining self-awareness, entering the healing path, healing yourself, and then aligning with your purpose and finding contentment and peace. So I just wanted to plug that as well, but that's going to be in the coming few weeks, hopefully. So when you follow me on Instagram or wherever, you can DM me and I'll let you guys know more about that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So check note, that was the second time. And this is a perfect example of how we work, right? Because first time I asked you, please tell us a little bit more about yourself. I was as well, a bit nervous, a bit pre-rehearsed. Second time now, more chilled. Yeah, now you tell us about the app and you're more comfortable now, more about what you actually want to do and stuff like that. So guys, follow Kash, right? Literally. Follow Kash, and after you follow Kash, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button for this channel as well. The Be and Become project is a book that will be turned into a documentary. The aim of this is to cultivate compassion, to show you that life is shit hard. All right, excuse my phrase. Nobody will ever deny that, especially those of us who have really experienced pain. It's very hard because we think we're alone. It doesn't have to be like that. All right, it doesn't have to be like that. The moment we realize that we're not alone, the heart can become easier. All right, Kash, next question. You ready?
Sure.
This is one of my favorites. What does existence mean for you personally?
I don't think there is a right answer. I think it's a very individual thing. But it's funny you say it because the other week I experienced a very deep journey with I think the most potent psychedelic known to man, which is called 5-MeO-DMT. It's a bufo. And this medicine is very strong, and so strong where I think I switched off. Like my soul went on a journey and I have no memory of the journey. Apart from the very last, maybe the first minute and the last minute,
Yeah.
In the middle, I blanked out. Because they say this medicine, it takes you to source. And it takes you to basically where you come from and where you end up, the same place, And it made me really look at this life in a different way, because I realized that I am not this body. Like I realized I am something greater than this body. I am a soul that's eternal, and a soul that that's eternal. And I've chosen this body to have this temporary life, to learn, to grow, to evolve, and it was very hard for me to accept that I wasn't this body, because the ego doesn't want to say that this is an illusion. The ego needs this to be real, It needs it to be real. Otherwise, what's the point, So the ego wants to be here, it wants to be real. So my ego was resisting. But in the end, what I realized was, it's very profound, but everything in my reality, I see through my mind. That you exist now only in my mind. Everything of my children or my family, everything I've ever done exists in my mind only, really. And the same applies to you. So everything that you experience, you touch, you feel, exists only in your mind. And it makes me think that, and I got this feeling that, okay, I'm not this body, I'm part of this great one consciousness, this giant mind. And I now look at other humans, and I see you, and I think, oh, it's just the same mind, just a different eye, different eyes. Like there's one consciousness experiencing life through you, Marcel, through me, Kash, through a rabbit, through a dog, through an insect, through whoever it wants to experience. It wants to experience everything, and it's consciousness. It just wants to experience everything, good, bad, evil, pain, love, ecstasy, everything, you know? It wants to experience its own creation. And we are the vessels that we choose to create to experience this through, you know? And it feels the separation goes away, you know? Like I look at other humans and I see, oh, it's just another version of God having an experience.
Exactly.
And it's like we're all experiencing this existence, but like there's no separation. Separation is ego. It's an illusion that we've created, and we're here on the earth experiencing separation, so we can maybe learn different soul lessons. But I think in the end, we all return to become one again and one consciousness. And I guess that's the best answer I can give through my own experience.
The short answer. Yeah. So there's a saying in philosophy: first there was the word, and that's it. First there was the word. In order to make something real, two minds have to see it, acknowledge it, accept it, and identify it. Because otherwise it's just in here. Literally. The most beautiful way I've ever heard what you're describing now, and I do not know where I heard it, but the message still sticks with me very, very clearly. Somebody described consciousness, right, as it is the thing behind your eyes experiencing everything. So it's the thing behind your eyes, the thing behind my eyes, the thing behind, like you said, animals, other people. It's the thing behind your eyes, looking out, experiencing everything. You know, before the conditioning, before the patterns, before the ego, before all these things. And it's very true. You know, it's that thing that there is a core inside of us that is the same in every living thing. Consciousness.
It's beautiful and it's very profound, and it's almost hard to maintain this. Right now, I'm talking, you're talking, and you can feel for a temporary second this oneness, this connection, that we're not separate. But then it's very hard to maintain that. You know, day to day, you wake up, you go around your daily duties. It's very easy to forget this for a long period of time. But this is again coming back to spiritual practice for me is the best way to maintain this connection is by being alone and doing conscious activities with yourself, you know, like whatever that might be. Because when I had this experience, whether you want to call it a connection to God, consciousness, spirit, I came out of the journey and I felt such a divine connection. I said, okay, thank you. How do I maintain this now?
Yeah.
I don't want to lose this connection. And I immediately went out and I bought lots of big papers, pens, pencils, anything I could do to be alone, to create, you know. I thought, okay, I want to do art. I want to draw. I want to be alone for 5 hours on the beach just drawing, you know, or meditating on the beach, or just being alone, listening to music, or whatever this is. It's like a connection to yourself. It's like connecting to you. And when you connect to yourself, you're connected to the divine. So it's not like people worship statues or temples. I believe that our bodies are our temples, you know, and how much you respect yourself and how much you pay attention to yourself and you do conscious activities to connect to yourself. This is the way you connect to God.
Yeah.
Not out there in a church or whatever. I'm not saying people with religion are bad. There's many highly evolved spiritual people that are religious, but for me, the connection to God or spirit is only gained by connecting to yourself.
Exactly.
So the more,
I mean, who said it's somebody, once again, the name eludes me quite conveniently. Somebody, probably in the direction of Wayne Dyer or someone like that, said that we are the universe experiencing itself. Literally. Right? And you think like that, you go, oh my God. And then you break it down elementally. We are made from the exact same elements. as everything in our solar system. We're carbon-based. Like, it's the same elements, quite literally. So we are the result of a 4.5 billion year old cycle. Just putting stuff on, breaking stuff down. Try again. Does that work? No. Does that? Oh yeah, that works. Okay, let's try something else. Does that work? Over and over and over and over again. And how fortunate that now we're sitting here talking. You are in Costa Rica, Central America. I'm sitting in Spain. Like, I'm looking into a little camera here. 300 years ago, I'd have to send you a letter and wait for bloody 6 months. Literally, for something to happen. And now it's just like that. How fast things have changed. It's amazing. Quite amazing. Kash, what do you understand as the self?
What do I understand is the self? I think this is, my previous answer, I feel like this maybe touches on that same topic. Like, what is the self? The self is a state of awareness, a state of being, understanding, just a knowing of who you are, and who you are is everything and nothing at the same time. Like, it's a very, really deep answer. It's hard to comprehend, because I only really started saying this in the last couple of weeks, everything and nothing, because I became everything and nothing. So I understand the feeling of it, But for people who haven't had either deep meditation or psychedelic experiences, it's hard to grasp this concept of being everything and nothing, But like, I think we spoke about letting go, we spoke about surrendering, we've spoken about all this stuff, and it's all of that combined. This is when you understand your true self. When you let go, when you surrender, when you get out of your own way, and when you appreciate that you're not separate from everything, you are part of everything, and you're also part of nothing at the same time. It's very, I guess, deep. Well, like, many spiritual philosophers and leaders, I think, come to a similar conclusion over many, many years of effort and practice. So I think I'm on the right path, somewhere. This is my definition of the self. It's quite simple. We could talk about it for hours, but I think the simple, sometimes words can complicate very simple things, And I find this in myself, because in the past I love speaking, I love talking, as I'm sure you do. But often when an answer is simple, we want to complicate it because it sounds cooler, or it's more interesting, or it gives a longer answer. But I think it's sometimes less is more. And when it comes to a question as profound as what is the self, I think it requires a simple answer, Like, you're everything and you're nothing,
You keep reminding me of questions that I didn't want to put in here, but that I want to ask you. Literally. This is very applicable, right, for you guys watching this or listening to this. Have you ever asked yourself, what is the difference between simple and easy? Kash,
simple and easy.
Yeah.
You don't think so? What is the difference between simple and easy?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear more, like, of your thought behind this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Noam Chomsky, an American linguist who's still alive and is on my list as well, he basically dedicated most of his life explaining how language is both our key to everything and our limitation to everything, right? How language develops through the ages and how our consciousness develops with it, right? But our only true restriction is when we reach a point when we are limiting ourselves because we can't explain and articulate what it is we are feeling, right? So we can't share it. So that thing is just inside us. So we don't know if it's real because it's just inside us. Simple, Da Vinci said it the best way. He said, simple is one's ability to describe the most complicated thing in the clearest way possible, right? So the most complicated thing you can think of, but in such a clear way that doesn't matter who you speak those words to, they will understand it. right? Simple. Easy is the fastest way. It's a shortcut, quite literally. And what happens usually if you take shortcuts? You get lost, or you end up in a ditch, or you do this, or you do that. So there's a profound difference between simple and easy. And yet we are not really always conscious of how we use these words. But the fact that we become conscious of, okay, this is what simple means. So now I'm going to all of a sudden endeavor to speak more simple, which means I'm going to search to explain and articulate clearer, just because now I understand the difference between two words. Not two words, two words.
Interesting.
Yeah. So language, I have a very soft spot for language.
Yeah. This brings me on to something else around language, you know. Like a lot of people have been asking me to describe my psychedelic journeys. And I say to them, the English language isn't equipped to be able to accurately describe, because there's some things that words just can't give justice to, you know. And it's just like your state of being says more than what you can say, you know, just by being peaceful, by being kinder, by being happy. This says more than any way I could explain what my journey was like, you know. And
Totally get it, yeah.
yeah, and I guess like I was thinking about this the other day, because during psychedelic experiences you can often encounter other beings, and they don't use words. It's like a form of communication that's vastly more superior than our English language. And you can download information; it just comes to you. It's a feeling, it's emotion, and I guess where we are just now in our evolution, we are language is our primary form of communication, you know, and there's some things that are beyond language. Like some of the questions you're asking me are very deep, very profound, and very valid questions, but I feel like some people overcomplicate them by trying to answer them, because it's very hard to answer them accurately. It's almost impossible. But you can communicate a state of being through my emotion, through my peace. People can understand the answer. You know what I mean? Like people will look at me and they'll see my happiness and they'll say, "Wow, I get it. Like I see what these psychedelics are doing. They see the change in me." And this says more than I could ever explain in words. You know what I mean?
I do. What's the name? The name of this project? Be and become. Literally. That's why it's called that. You know, we search our lives, right? Walking around blindly with pockets full of money or empty pockets, searching for what can I do to make the world a better place? What can I become to help this? And the key is learning to be first. You know, sitting your ass still on that piece of ground where you are and finding stillness and seeing inside that stillness, okay, what is? You know, I am not where I come from, even though everybody keeps telling me that. It just means it's their problems, their issues, their shit they have to let go of, not mine at all. What you think of me is none of my business. This is my life. But we don't work like that. We're brought up in a system that teaches us to, in order to exist, I need to be validated by somebody else.
Yeah.
That's horseshit, right? Totally. But it doesn't matter if it's horseshit or not, because most people still ascribe to it. You know, look at children. Children. A child does something, we create a feedback loop. It's right, it's wrong. Do it, don't do it. Yes, no. So we create that polarity because that's how we were taught. That's how our parents were taught. That's how their parents were taught. And then we wake up inside this pattern and we go, okay, sweet. I see it, I recognize it, but I am taking a stand. A last stand. I will break free from this. Trauma And subconscious patterns, oh my God, they rule us. You know, they literally rule us. Because we constantly think that, oh, what's that person going to think of what I think? What's that person going to think of what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What's that person? Oh my God, am I doing this right? What's that person going to think? The irony is that person thinks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it turns into two people that go like, what are they going to think about me? What are they going to think about me? And neither one is just actually chilling and being. You know, this thing that we go like, I walk on this side of the streets and I go, oh, it's their fault, you know, they're supposed to do it. And the people on the other side, they go, oh, it's their fault, they're supposed to do it. So in effect, I am them
Mm-hmm.
and they are me.
Mm-hmm.
So where does it start? The individual. Always. It's always been like that. It's my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Right, sir. Shall we continue? Now, look how beautiful this fits in here to the next question. Kash, what is the difference for you between accepting one's self versus being accepted by somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Accepting oneself versus being accepted by somebody else. So being accepted by other people is like again is your ego requiring validation from others, and it's disempowering your true spirit, your true soul. Accepting yourself is empowering yourself. You are a sovereign being that does not require any external validation or any external anything can impact you. So,
That's on the back.
yeah. You touched on this in your previous question around being sovereign. You know, and sovereignty is a very important subject because, like you say, we're born into systems where we're always thinking about what other people are thinking about us, you know. And when you are a sovereign being, you understand and appreciate that we're all sovereign beings and we are all unique, powerful, creative beings with limitless potential. As individuals, we all are, you know. And I guess for me, accepting oneself is being a sovereign being. It's being in a state of sovereignty where you are empowered and where you refuse to be impacted by any external energy or force because you are in a state of acceptance. Whereas when you are looking for acceptance from others, you're giving away your power. We are energy. That's what we are. On the fundamental, scientific, spiritual level, all equates to one thing, energy. If you ask any scientist, any quantum physicist, they'll tell you that you are just trillions of atoms put together. And
Going like
that's
this.
energy vibrating constantly, you know? And this is everything, you know? Nothing is physical. This microphone, it's just physical here, but in actual fact, it's just millions of atoms. And millions of atoms are, each atom is 99.9% not there.
It's quite amazing.
So it's like, but it's empty space, you know?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. And when you understand that everything is energy, you start to look at things differently. So when I'm wanting someone else to love me, to accept me, to validate me, this is me giving away my energy. And I'm giving my energy to them. And they can do what they want with my energy. And then then I get affected by whatever they do, you know? So if you can contain your own energy and protect it, protecting your energy can mean many things, you know? It can mean setting boundaries. It can mean saying no to people. It can mean like, you know, really being strong in your own capacity to look after yourself, to protect yourself. Because for me, for example, I was raised by like my mother had four sisters, you know, and I always had women running around me all my childhood, you know, like always taken care of, always looked after. I created a little bit of spoiledness as an adult because I was used to always being fed, always used to always being, you know, spoiled in this way. And I guess as an adult, when you don't have this, you start to feel, oh, no one's looking after me. You know, so I've had to learn to become more sovereign and to realize that I'm alone. We're all alone, and we have to learn to cook for ourselves, eat for ourselves, to be able to protect ourselves, to become sovereign beings. You know, instead of relying on others. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
We sit around the same fire. Literally, yes, we sit around the same fire. I left home when I was 19. First time I ever got on a plane was when I left South Africa to go to Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a shock. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quite a shock. But alas, this is a story for a different day. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to both these channels, to Kash and to mine. Right, sir, the final question in this part, and then we shall go on to the second part. This one is how everything started for me. When I realized that this was a question that can be asked, oh my God, my brain went like this, literally. Right. Guys, what is the difference for you between an objective perspective and a subjective perspective?
Objective and subjective. So objective is, I believe, based on facts. So an objective belief is like, based on facts, where a subjective belief is, if I'm right, I believe, based on opinions or feelings. So it's subjective, like spirituality. And some people may argue this is subjective. Religion can be subjective because there's no hard evidence, physical, whereas objective is like science, it's more based on facts. So this is like on a simple level the difference. But like what's come up for me a lot lately is my faith in spirituality, in God, and I through these plant medicine journey, through spiritual practice, I have much more less need for objectivity, and I am more content with subjectivity than I used to be. I am more content with a knowing, with a feeling, because I have faith in myself. So when I feel something, I don't need to have any evidence to back up my feelings, because the feelings are enough. Like I feel gratitude, I feel compassion, I feel love, I feel a connection to God or to spirit, and this is enough. I don't need to objectify this by saying facts or backing up with science or any physical evidence. There's no need for this. And again, I think it comes down to, again, almost the soul and the ego. The ego requires evidence. It requires physical proof for something to be real. It doesn't want, it wants to, like I mentioned earlier, my experience of dissolving, of my ego dissolving, of becoming one with source. My ego didn't want this, because it's like, no, there's no proof of your existence then, like you're not alive, you're not this body. So I didn't want to leave my body. And but my soul probably wants to go home. This is back to source. It's like this is where we belong. So it's like yeah, it's interesting the question you ask. It's good timing around what I've been dealing with lately with spirituality, science, and I guess spirituality and science. The more they evolve, the more they're merging.
Exactly.
So it's like almost like objectivity and subjectivity are realizing like, okay, like there's some kind of merging of the two in a weird way. And it's an interesting time to be alive as meditation, like the spiritual benefit, the scientific benefits of meditation, the scientific benefits of yoga, the scientific benefits of prayer, the scientific benefits of spending time in nature. It's all coming to light now. But different spiritual beliefs, practices, and religions have been saying this for centuries.
They've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, and science is now backing it all up.
Exactly. But see, and this is the thing as well, because throughout history, human history, and I mean, like Persia, India, right? Like, and these specific pockets, these isolated pockets, right? Pre-Christian, like pre-religion, basically, right? Pre 2,000 years ago, before the Greeks even. they figured out that by having the discipline to practice one thing over and over and over and over and over again, you will get results, right? And this is one of the keys, because I am certainly right. Up until a few years ago, I was one of these people who had like fucking hell, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different irons in the fire. But if you ask me, Marcel, do you have a sword ready? We have to fight. I go, no, Jesus, no, no. But this sword, this fire, this iron is almost ready, literally, right? So I was never focused at all. So somebody who meditated for 20, 30, 40, 50 years in the past, imagine that kind of a discipline. I mean, of course you're going to learn superhuman things, right? Because this is what you dedicate your life for. Today, it's a tad more complicated, because I do believe, and I can't really say because this is the existence that I woke up to, so I'm sure back then, they had their own troubles and things as well. But today, I certainly feel that we are actually born into a lot more busyness, right? With the internet and with the news, with the states, all the crap happening there, with COVID. I like that we haven't even brought that up once in this interview. I like that very much. It just occurred to me there. So it's much more difficult perhaps to just focus on one thing, right? Because before we actually get the time and the discipline and the resources to just focus on that one specific thing, I mean, the children still need shoes. You still need to pay your rent. You still need to do this. So we get thrown into this system of consumption where you have to pay for your dues, you have to pay for your living. And then if you're lucky, you come to a stage where you go back, I'm so unhappy. I hate my life. This is not what I want to do. And then you take that stand and you go, okay, fuck it. This is what I'm going to do now. This is what I'm going to do. It's tough. It's very, very tough. And certainly, I mean, the first thing, and this is what you're saying, well, what I'm hearing about what you're saying between objective and subjective. Objective, yes. Subjective is our ability to become a human being first, fully. Because if we don't become a human being in these faculties, how the hell are we supposed to understand anything or enjoy anything? More importantly, to feel happiness and sadness and compassion. And that's what life for me personally is about, feeling, But yes, my humble opinion. The next one is something that I'm still changing my opinion about the question. Right? Let's shoot, and then we'll see what comes out. Mr. Kahn, how old would you see yourself as if you forgot your age?
I think I feel a lot younger than I am. So like I would see myself as, I don't know, like if you had to put a number to it, like maybe early 20s or something. I feel like although I'm a 38-year-old man with I have 3 children, I have a business and all this, I look at myself in a different way, I don't see myself as a stereotypical masculine father, businessman who's mature, so to say, like they have a level of maturity, a level of presence. I find myself on my hands and knees playing with my children all day, like behaving like a child. I find myself like in states of giggle and laughter, like rolling around or messing around, being silly and funny. And this to me is like a very important thing, because I feel the connection to your inner child is vitally important to really enjoy this life in this world. Like our children are truly enlightened beings. Our children, they understand, they don't have an ego yet. They understand like how to just be. Like they cry when they want to cry, they shout when they want to shout, they ask for what they want to ask, they say what they want to say. Like they just exist and they bleed, they play, they explore. Every day is an adventure for them. And as a father, I'm reminded by this every day. Just watching them. They can spend hours playing with two little twigs in the garden. I'm like, it's just insane. Like only as adults we could find joy in the little things like they do. You know, and I think so. For me, I feel a lot younger than I am. I behave a lot younger than I am. Age is just a number. It really is. I'm more happy with the state of being that I am, and I hope even when I'm 70 or 80 years old, I'm still able to play with my kids and grandkids in a childlike way. And this is something else I want to speak to people on: is when you're looking for spiritual guidance or spiritual leaders, people look up to gurus or teachers. I always look for one common trait. I look for, if you want to take advice from someone, how do they smile? How are they when they're not speaking? Because people that are in a state of happiness, in a state of contentment, I want to learn from them. I don't mind learning from them, taking advice from them. But so many people these days, they're so complicated, so rigid, so serious, always in a state of,
I know.
this is
You have to listen to me. Why
Yeah,
would I listen to that?
this is the right answer. This is the way to live. This is the key to happiness, because it's a state of being, and I'm drawn to energy. And when you feel people's energy, you can sense that they're connected to their inner child. You can sense they're relaxed and they're loose, and yet they can have lots of wisdom. But the way they say this to you is they don't teach you, they don't enforce their wisdom on you. They just be. Tribes would elect their own spiritual leaders, because it would be the wisest man becomes the leader, the one who has the most experience, the most connection, the most ability to heal. They elect him, so they call them a shaman. Whereas these days, people elect themselves. People do online courses, they go to the jungle for a couple of months, and they come back and they say, I'm a shaman. Come and learn from me. Let me heal you. And I'm always a little bit hesitant
Cautious.
on this, cautious, because I've done medicine for 2 years and I'm like a baby. So like this stuff requires lots of dedication, time, effort, a state of being, a healing of yourself, of your traumas, of your wounds, where you can just simply be in a real state of existence where people want to come to you to be healed. People should approach you before you start to call yourself a healer, because they will see that in you. They'll see that power and strength in you. They'll sense your wisdom and they'll come to you saying, I need help. Can you help me? You know what I mean? And that's almost like the world bestowing on you the honor of being a healer. And so, it's just something that it's been coming up a lot for me lately, because as there's this boom in psychedelics and yoga and meditation, everyone's a transformational coach, everyone's a life coach, everyone's a healer, everyone's a shaman. And I think amazing. Like, this is a beautiful state for the world to be in. Let's get more healers. Let's have more artists. Let's have more. But at the same time, we have to keep our egos in check during this time and ask ourselves, just because spiritual ego is a thing as well. Like,
not once in our history, if there were too many chiefs and not enough Indians, or other way around, was the outcome good?
Yeah, exactly.
Just the way it is.
Yes. The ego is so clever. So it attaches itself to physical objects, like more money, more cars, more women, and wants to be strong. But then even as you evolve past this and you become more spiritual, less powerful needs, the ego still attaches itself to instead of physical, it attaches to metaphysical.
Exactly.
So it's like, how many times have I drank ayahuasca? How many hours have I spent doing yoga? How much time have I spent meditating? And if you've spent more time than someone else, it means you're higher up. You look down on them. So we have to always keep our ego in check, because it's so clever. It's very advanced. It's always one step ahead of us, ego. And it's having self-awareness that allows you to help keep the ego in check. So if you can step out of your body every so often, and this is again through meditation, spiritual practice, and you can be the observer, and you can observe yourself, and you can notice, okay, I see myself, my ego is coming in here, Like I can see myself like behaving a little bit egoically. And it's just having the self-awareness to notice and to correct yourself. That's the key. And it's about what you mentioned earlier, that talking about consciousness and the mind behind us. It's becoming this observer. So there's a version of me and you that are just talking to each other, and there's also the version that's aware of this conversation. There's also the version that's watching us.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like there's two versions, and the more we can tap into the higher version, our higher self, or our deeper consciousness, then the more we're going to be in alignment, and the more we're going to be saying and doing the right things and flowing with life in a gentle way without harming others and without imposing ourselves on others. And yeah.
You're one of the handful of people I've come across that also does this to explain it. Yes, not many people do that. Yeah, and it explains perfectly what the observer is. I call it the objective observer. It's like you've got this, then you've got this, and then you've got this thing here looking at everything, literally. You know, yeah, man, I hear you loud and clear. There was something I wanted to say, and it just eludes me now. Give me 1 second.
It will come to you.
It will come to me, yes. And in the meantime, while I'm letting my mind just flow with it, let's go to the next question. This is a personal one, all right? And I'm just going to read it straight off. Do you still have the hole in your heart that the world gave you? And if you don't, how did you get rid of it?
So I think we all of us suffer levels of trauma as children, even if it's not obvious. We did suffer trauma at some point. Even people can suffer trauma in the womb. They can suffer trauma during birth, and it affects them as adults. And even small things like being left in your nappy for too long, or maybe being neglected for a few hours, or just maybe your dad missed you, didn't come to watch you play soccer or football one day. This is all trauma. It's all types of trauma. Because trauma is when you store emotion, when you don't express it. So like you're sad, you're angry, and in the moment you can't express. So this emotion goes somewhere in your body, and it stays there. So you mentioned the hole in your heart. Like I suffered a fair amount of trauma as a child, and for me, working through plant medicine was a great way to release this emotional trauma. So to make space for love, because when you release the trauma, when it comes out your body, whether it's puking or vomiting, sweating, crying, you make more space for love. I also think there is always more healing to be had. Like there's a shaman who comes here very often to the retreat where I live near, and his grandfather is called Taita Laureano. And he's 112. He was 112 years old until recently he passed away, and he was still drinking ayahuasca very regularly. And people would ask him, like, you've been drinking since you were a teenager or a child, and you're 112 and you're still drinking? And he said, because I never stop healing. There's always more healing. It never ends. There's always more learning, always more knowledge. So to answer your question about having a hole in my heart, I feel like my heart is healing, but I also feel like I'm always in a continuous battle to heal more and more. There's more layers, always more peeling. You become more aware. So when you heal more, you gain more awareness. You see and feel more. So there's traumas that I'm not even aware of that I know exist, and I'll gain awareness of them, and I'll have to heal them. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like my heart is healing, and it's much more healed than it was before. But I think there is a little hole still somewhere, and I'm still working on it. And it's going to be a continuous thing, and it's part of the journey of life. I think it's more awareness, more self-awareness, more self-healing, more growth. And often I speak to shamans, and I ask them, like, what's it like for you now to do ayahuasca? Do you still heal? Do you still deal with trauma? And they all say yes. Every time we drink, we gain more awareness. And if anything, they say the tasks become bigger because we have more capacity to heal now. We have more capacity to feel because we're healing so much. So the medicine gives us more to deal with because we're able to deal with more, So it's just never ending. And it's the healing path. When you choose to become a healer or in some way heal, you realize this is a lifelong path that's never going to end, because there's no end goal. There's no, okay, I've achieved healing, I'm full, I'm complete. There's no such thing, you know? And I guess knowing this, knowing there's still a hole in my heart, and knowing that it's fine, and living with this and moving on, healing, this is the being in a complete state, you know? Because I'm accepting it. I accept pain as part of life. I accept that there's times I'm going to be sad, there's times I'm going to be happy and pain. It's just part of, this is a journey, you know? There's also no growth without pain as well. So like, you have to have pain, you have to have suffering, you have to keep healing in order to grow.
Pain, 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 pain. It's been the inspiration for so many amazing pieces of arts, writing, song, lyrics, pain and suffering. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. I remembered what I wanted to say. Did you ever hear of destination blindness?
Destination?
Blindness.
Blindness? No, I haven't heard it.
Yeah. So destination blindness is a concept, right? Which basically means, imagine that you put in your GPS, okay, I want a parking spot 100 miles from here, and I want to be there at 25 minutes past 1 p.m. You drive, you press go, and you start. And this is what you do. You go, you know, I have to stick to this speed, and I have to follow all of these conditions, because if I don't, then I'm not going to get that parking spot. And while you're doing this, you drive past the most amazing desert landscape. Like, there's a waterfall there, and oh my God, there's a giraffe there, which is highly unlikely. Nobody knows how it got there. And you're missing all of this completely, you know, because you're so fixated on getting that parking spot. Destination blindness. It's when we focus so much on what we perceive to be an envisioned outcome of a process that we completely neglect to see the journey. And many, many, many people do that. That's what I was thinking of, yeah. I mean, this at the end of the day this is the A to B job, literally. In this body, like, life is linear. Like, we're born, the very moment that you're conceived is the exact moment that you start dying. You know, that stopwatch is pressed like this and goes, yeah, Marcel, I just started your clock. Enjoy it. So this is the truth. You know, it doesn't matter how you take it up. It is the truth. So we come to a point when we realize this, and then we don't use it as an excuse anymore. There we go. Yes, I know this. And that is why I have so much passion and so much drive, you know, because I'm enjoying being alive, literally. Oh my God, and then it starts to happen, quite literally, you know. That's the very exact moment you realize that very few things in life are actually impossible. Because once we break through these walls that we built for ourselves, and it's only ourselves ever that stop us, always. Once we break through those, you know, then it just takes hearts, dedication, work, commitment, all of those things. But nothing is for free anyway. You know? So it is possible. It literally is possible. I was addicted to alcohol for 10 years of my life. And one of the biggest things for me was always, okay, I'll stop next week. I'll stop next month. Then it became, I'll stop next year. And then it became, I'll write in my diary, next year, this time, you know, I want my life to be totally different, completely different. Next year, I would come to that page, and Jesus, I would be drunk looking at that page, like, you know, and it's so easy to get so stuck that you don't realize there is a light, you know. But for you guys watching this, don't lose hope. You know, Kash is an example of this, all the people that I'm going to be talking to during these interviews, they're examples. And the fact that you're here watching this means it's possible. Don't lose hope. So Kash, sorry, I just went off in a little
Beautiful.
tangent there. Now, sir, did you want to add anything more about the age you will not be if you forgot it?
I think I'm good. I mean, what you were talking about there is about like just enjoying the journey, being present, and presence requires a level of surrender and like just being in the moment, enjoying, and it's beautiful, you know. Like, and that's a good reminder for the people listening as well. Is whatever's going on in your life, you can be present. And this reminds me of one thing: breath. Recently, I've been getting lots of signs and messages to learn to breathe more, like breath work, Wim Hof. And when you can take a deep breath or several deep breaths, it really brings you to the present moment. You know, like whatever's going on in your life, you can, and it takes everything away, and you just be present in that moment, and you're breathing in life. You know, that breath is a reminder that you're alive. Like, what are you doing with that life?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great way to bring yourself back to the present moment through breath.
You know, it just blows my mind. How simple is it really? How do you know you're alive? I'm breathing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nothing complicated. I am breathing. When do I know it's over? When I'm not breathing anymore. Yeah. I tell you, we overcomplicate things so much. Next question, kind sir. What do you think all this is about?
What do I think all this is about?
I just asked that, yes. Yeah.
A very broad question.
Exactly, yeah.
What do I think all this is about? So, like, have you heard of the book of the Law of One, Book of Ra? I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's an ancient, some kind of scripture. I think the I don't want to talk too much because I'm only just watching videos around it, but like I think it's to do with an Egyptian god Ra, who came down, and they believe he ascended from different planets and he came to teach the Egyptians. And I've been listening to this YouTube collection of videos from a guy called Aaron Abke, Aaronabke, I think. And there's a series of videos, and it's called The Law of One. And it's about this guy, and he answers these questions, the kind of questions you're answering. So I recommend you watch it. It's quite enlightening. Yeah? It's interesting. And what they say, it resonates a lot with me. And he said that our souls chose this existence, and it's called the third density. Where we live now is third density, like 3D. And we chose this existence because it's the shortest life that creates the biggest catalyst for us on our soul's journey, you know? So what we do in these 60, 70, 80, 90 years is going to actually echo for maybe eternity or millions of years, you know, through our soul's journey. And he says our souls chose this journey to learn different lessons, and we keep learning until we keep reliving until we learn. Like we just keep being reincarnated until we learn. It's just continuous. We could be in a life for infinite times or millions of times, who knows, until we eventually learn. And when you learn, you evolve. So like I feel like when I'm practicing with psychedelics or plant medicines, I feel like I have one foot in the 3D world and I have one foot in the next dimension, you know, like spiritual world, and I have one foot in both at the moment. And perhaps when I die, depending on if I've learned all the lessons I need to learn, maybe I'll be able to transition over to this next plane of existence, you know. And the ultimate thing that this guy says we're here to do is ultimately just this word love keeps coming up. Like no one can really give it an accurate definition, but they can say it's a feeling, it's a type of emotion, and we are here to love ourselves, to love others, and to be loved by others, you know. And everything leads to this one emotion, you know, one feeling, and the word love is a big one for me. And we are here as souls, and we're all souls, and we're all mirrors to each other, And it's just about how much love can I show you, how much love can you show me, how much can we love ourselves, how much can we love each other. And the more this happens, this vibration, this frequency, eventually we'll ascend from this 3D realm into a different way of existence. And it feels like there's also a guy, funnily enough, who says he has the answer to life. He works at this retreat, and he says he got this. He draws a map on a wall, yeah, and he's done many hundreds or thousands of medicine ceremonies. And he says he's spoken with spirits, he's asked for guidance, he's asked for the blueprint, he's asked for the answers, and he's built a pyramid on this. He does it on a whiteboard, you know. He draws a pyramid, and he says there's source, which is at the bottom, and source is at the top. And he goes, we all start from the bottom. And like, so consciousness wants to experience itself, the flower of life. You've seen this shape, I'm sure, sacred geometrical shape. And it's a definition for what is consciousness. So consciousness starts at a point, and it wants to know itself. So it creates a line and a circle around the line. And this is the most efficient shape that can be formed, you know, where it can know oneself, and then it multiplies, and then the flower of life is formed. And this is also how human cells are formed, or animals, or anything, you know, just those cells multiply. And this is like, basically, it feels like we are all God, and God wants to know itself, and we are all ways for God to know itself. And it's just like love. And as we evolve through life, so his conclusion was that we start from our soul is born, and our soul can be a spark. His soul was, there's one shaman who says he saw his soul being born as a spark of fire. That was his soul being born. Other people can be a gust of wind. Other people can be, I don't know, maybe like a drop of water or something. This is your soul being born into existence. And then your soul wants to experience every type. So it becomes from a fire, water, wind. It decides to become maybe a plant or a flower or an insect, and then a bird or an animal, a panther, a tiger. And then it's okay, I'm evolving, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm understanding, and I want to now become a human. It becomes a specific type of human that has a specific type of consciousness, and it learns so much. And then, okay, now I want to become an evolved human. Now I want to be a human that has access to knowledge and wealth and abundance. And then you just keep going and going until eventually, okay, I've been a human and I've evolved, and now I want to become a spirit. And you ascend and you ascend and you ascend until eventually you come back to where you started, which is source. And he draws it beautifully in a diagram, you know. And there's places for like humans, plants, animals, archangels, angels, spirits. There's even a section for demons and ghosts, and it's all like we all end up in the same place. He says even demons and ghosts, they just need love. Like he said, when you encounter a demon or a ghost or anything through an ayahuasca ceremony, for example, he says give it love, and it will disappear faster than you can blink. But when you show fear, it feeds off your fear. And it becomes more scary and more traumatic and more. But if you can learn to give this thing light and love, it disappears, you know. And this is the thing. So even demons and ghosts, he says, they are just spirits that have lost their way, that have been very consistent with doing evil deeds, with being bad. They're very consistent. They actually deserve an award for being super consistent, because every lifetime they keep being bad. It's very hard to keep being bad, to keep rejecting love. It's very hard, you know. And he goes, these demons are just very consistent at being bad. They're so lost, so traumatized, so torn. They never want to be light. So they're it's only like maybe 1 or 2% of people can actually reach this level of badness where they become some kind of demonic entity or force. It's not even evil. It's just negative bad energy and good energy. You know, it's energy. And even this energy will find its way back to God eventually. It's just a longer path. And the way we can help these energies find its path to God is by giving them love and giving them light, you know. And even I've read somewhere that in the spiritual world, like good angels or spirits, they exist, and they can very quickly destroy evil. They can very quickly destroy not evil, but bad energy. They can very quickly do this, but they choose not to, because this is not the path of light. The path of light is giving love. So this is why people ask the question, why does evil exist? Why does God let evil happen? And it's like, well, because what you want to do? You want to destroy evil with evil. You want to banish all evil. You want to kill evil people. You want to give them the electric chair. Like, what do you want to do? You know, this is not the path of light. The path of light is shining a light on these people and giving them love and love and love until they get tired of being bad or tired of bad energy, and they eventually will come to the light, you know. And this is like people like great spiritual teachers, whether they were Jesus or Gandhi or anyone, you know, they believed in like non-violence and love and peace. And I see through my own spiritual practice the truth in this, because you cannot defeat black or darkness with darkness. You can only shine light on it, you know. And this is love.
Yummy, like chocolate cake.
Can you imagine loving your enemy? Can you imagine loving your enemy?
Yeah.
Like imagine somebody, look at Jesus, for example, or even Gandhi, or somebody wants to shoot you or harm your family. Yeah? And they're holding a gun to your head. Can you imagine actually loving that person? It's very hard. Because in that moment, your ego kicks in and you need to defend yourself, defend your family. You need to put this threat down. This is a threat to your being. This is a threat to your life. This is a threat to your family. Yeah. So all our body wants to do is react physically to this threat. But imagine if you could find the self-awareness and strength or courage to love that person. It's really crazy, because maybe the humans aren't designed to do this, you know, but like on a certain level, if you can find compassion and love for your enemy, this to me is there's something deep in there, something very deep, and it's a crazy.
Keep saying it. Be and become, cultivate compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion is very powerful, right? For me, ultimately, how can I expect how do I know that light exists? Because there's darkness.
Exactly.
The one cannot be without the other one. Literally. It's only a matter of how much are we hurt, and how hard will we go to push that hurt away. But the truth is, if by some wonder we can cultivate the compassion to learn to embrace it, miracles can happen. Literally. I believe anyways.
Me too.
Right, sir. I'm loving this conversation. Thank you. In your own experience, what is the most important thing in this version of existence?
What's the most important thing in this version of existence? Presence, maybe. Presence. Because when you are present, you're most present in this moment, you're deeply connected. You are the most connected you can be to your soul or to God, you know, through presence. When you are not present, for example, during alcohol or drugs, you are the furthest away you can be from your soul, from your true purpose, from God. It takes you away, you know. And I think the more you can be present in your life through breath, through spiritual practice, through acts of love, being with your children, enjoying the animals, nature. This presence, to me, is the most important thing for me now. And I would never have said this a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'd have said something maybe more vague, maybe more like love or, something simple. But presence, for me, allows you to experience true love. It allows you to, opens the doorway to bliss, opens the doorway to experiencing life the way it can be experienced in its fullness, as being present. And this is only coming to me now through my recent plant medicine journeys and through my necessity to maintain this connection that requires a great deal of presence. And I'm now realizing through some form of spiritual awakening that, oh, okay, because when you are present, you're giving yourself the importance and the respect you deserve. When I take the time every day to go to the beach and to do this, I'm respecting myself. I'm giving myself love, and I'm opening up the channel to receive. When I take the time to really respect, when I'm spending every day too busy, and I'm every day going to work, or every day playing soccer, or watching football on TV, or watching movies, and I'm never really present, then I'm not giving myself respect. I'm not respecting myself. Therefore, I'm also not respecting the Creator, or God, or Spirit, because I'm not taking any moment in my busy life to even be grateful. Like, this happened to me one day in ayahuasca. I went outside on the grass. I felt the need to be in nature. And I went on my hands and knees and I started to cry. And I realized I was crying because I had never said thank you to the ground for holding me up. I said, there's air, there's trees that supply oxygen, there's ground that lets me to stand on it. So that without this ground, without the tree, without the air, I wouldn't be here to experience my children, to experience love, to experience sex, to experience food, music. All this stuff is only possible because of this physical reality that's been given to me, a playground, this earth. And I've never said thank you. In my 38 years of life, I had never taken even 5 seconds of my busy, busy, busy life to say thank you to the very thing that's allowing me to exist. It's like, how ignorant could I have been all those years? And it's like we're born and we're just we take it for granted that we have lungs and air and land and food and water and trees and animals. It's just we're born into it. So it's like we're in there, and then we're sold this dream of, okay, success, money, whatever that means. But already we've won the lottery a million times over just by being here. You being born, everything that ever happened for the last 3.4 billion years had to happen the exact same way. Every man had to meet every woman in the same order. Everyone had to die in the same way.
Yeah.
Every sperm had to win that race against billions of other sperms to make your ancestors be born for you to be here. It's insane. And we can often lose touch with this. And it's a presence that allows you to be grateful for this existence.
For you guys watching this, what Kash is talking about here is quite profound. Have you ever said thank you to life for being alive? Right? I know it sounds maybe silly. I know it sounds maybe strange, but trust me, try it. Stand outside in the morning or after you watch this interview. Just look into the horizon and just say thank you. Just thank you. Currently, right, there are some studies that are being done in the field of psychology about dopamine release, right, and the way that our visual cortex works. Quite literally, what we're figuring out at the moment is if we're looking down like this, walking, sitting down like this, it actually stops the stimulation in our neurotransmitters of dopamine being produced. Dopamine, our happy transmitter, quite literally. But if we are outside and we look into the distance like this and we feel grateful, and we look into the distance like this, our eyes tell our brain that we're moving forwards, we're experiencing change. And that stimulates dopamine, literally. So what we're doing is we're testing this in a therapeutic controlled environment. So currently what's happening is people are sitting in an office somewhere doing exercises like this. And your brain thinks you're outside experiencing life, right? And you're feeling better. So this is how we're wired. And by actually telling life, thank you for this, because you don't go like this, you go, thank you. Everything is connected. We might not know about it. You can know about it if you want to find out, but everything is connected. Kash, thank you for reminding me of that. I forgot about that piece of information.
My pleasure.
Now, kind sir, this brings us to the very last question in this interview. Kash, how do you see yourself? As a sheep or as a shepherd?
Mhm. I think I'm definitely not a sheep. Definitely see myself as a shepherd. I think on the bigger picture, I think all humans are shepherds in one way or another. There are people that are more indoctrified and are more brainwashed than others, but we all have the innate ability to, we are all mirrors to each other, you know, one way or another. Like there are people that are not maybe as connected or as how do you say, like, you know, maybe they're not aware, but they're still mirrors to me. They're still teaching me things. We can still learn from them, and they inspire me to live my life in a certain way. So I think all humans are mirrors to one another. I think we are all shepherds in one way or another. It's just some are can choose different paths than others, and like some of us, I believe, we are all born with a purpose of some kind. And it could be a simple purpose. It might be your purpose is just to connect with nature and be alone in nature. You might want to be a mother, and this is your purpose. Other people feel the call to the healing path. They want to become healers. Other people feel called to become leaders, and they want to lead and build communities or build businesses of some kind that are conscious. It just depends. We all have different things in it. What lights you up? Other people want to be musicians and artists. You know, whatever lights your soul up is what you're here to do, I think. And for me, I've always felt called to to create change of some kind, like to be some kind of change maker, some kind of leader. And I just didn't know, I didn't have clarity or vision until the last 6, 7, 8 years with what that path is. And more so in the last 2 years, I've been much more clear on that vision. And I'm 38 now, and I've only really came into alignment with my vision and I really understand my path, you know, and it took me many years to find that. And, and lots of painful experiences, lots of growth, lots of mistakes, and we're all walking each other home, bro. Like we all are. It's just different stages, you know. There are people like Eckhart Tolle or Muji or these spiritual leaders and guides or teachers that are very advanced in their teachings and they've learned through extremely painful circumstances and they've read thousands of books and spent thousands of hours meditating and just different levels. There's no one better than anyone else. There's no one more evolved, and it's these people that know that understand. You know, we're just walking each other home. If there's some people that are going to achieve their purpose in this lifetime, and there's people who will achieve it in the next one, and some will achieve it in the millions of years later. It's just, you know, we're all walking each other home. And I see myself as a I like to shine light on things, and I embrace challenges. I put myself through difficult events in order so that I can come out stronger. I like to be outside my comfort zone, and these are all traits of people that are healers of some kind or another. We do things not for ourselves. Like I really feel like I don't care so much about my own physical wealth. I would love to, like everyone, have a level of comfort, of course, but it's not my primary goal. My primary goal is to live a life of purpose and live in service. So I feel like I'm serving a purpose and I sleep very well at night with that conscious knowing that, okay, I'm doing something good here. I feel like I'm contributing to the planet. I'm leaving a healthy footprint. I'm sending a good energy. So, like you mentioned, shepherd and sheep, what's the difference? To me, the difference is energy. So, we're having this conversation just now. We are creating positive energy with our conversation, with our words, and we're using technology even to create energy. So, even technology just now is at our service. Then you get people that will build social media channels to get people, and they'll design it in such a way to make people addicted to social media. So in this case, they're using technology to drain energy from people, to make them addicted, to get them depressed, to make them dependent on it, you know? So this is like shepherds and sheep, maybe. Are you draining energy or are you increasing energy?
Yes.
And I think that's a good way to and look at your life. Are you draining others? Are you being drained yourself by the way you live? Or is your energy growing every day? And are you sharing the energy with others and helping them to grow as well? This is a good question people should ask themselves.
What is that old saying? All roads lead to the same destination. Doesn't matter which one you take, whether you get lost or you take a wrong turn, eventually they lead to the same destination.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that concludes this interview. Now, before we go and we say our final goodbyes, is there anything specific that you would like to say to our audience?
I think just to summarize and echo everything that we've spoke about, the key for people listening to this is like just to follow your intuition, follow your heart, remain sovereign, and whoever resonates with you, follow them. Like I don't want to come across as being somebody that's preaching or that knows all the answers. I definitely don't. I think the key is to take whatever you resonate with from this conversation. If there might be some things you don't resonate with, then that's fine. If there are things that you do, take those things and add them to your toolbox. And then watch more interviews, read more books, learn more, and just take whatever resonates with you from each person, each journey, and build your own, create your own path in life and become your own leader. There's one final thing. I mentioned the word leader. Is the time for leaders is gone. I feel like in life, like we used to look for people to show us the way. I think now is the time to all each become our own leaders. You know, become sovereign and make our own paths. We don't need to this hierarchical system of being led into battle or led into war or led. I think it's almost extinct, and we need to. I look at nature, I look at mushrooms, I look at plants, and I see mycelium networks. How do they work? They spread energy evenly, and they create huge organisms that are beautiful and they share energy. And it's very hard to destroy that organism because it's everywhere. You know, it's connected. And this is what I feel is the future for humans: is for us all to become our own leaders and all to help each other and build community.
Beautiful. And once again, irony, marketing has so much to do with that, right? Follow me. Let me show you how to be successful. You know, come on, I will show you. Just follow me. My God, like what the hell? Like when the truth is so much more delicate because it's the people that realize that they have to walk their own paths that carry the lanterns. You know, they carry the lights around in the darkest nights for these people looking for the path to follow. But the only reason they have that lantern is because they realized I cannot find myself in my path by following. I have to start walking. And that's where you start, right here, wherever that is. Kash, thank you.
Thank you, Marcel.
Last time I'll be doing this, guys, click on subscribe. Kash, for you, last time to plug you.
Sure. If people want to find me, they can find me at Educate.Inspire.Change across social media channels, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, although not very active there. And my website is Educate.Inspire.Change.org. I'm releasing a new community app soon. So I'd love you guys to find me and subscribe on social media. And you can subscribe to my mailing list as well, which is available through my website.
Perfect. I'll put all the details in the description as well. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now and stay there. So I want to have a chat with you. Take care, guys. Oh yeah, this is a series of interviews. So at the moment, I'm sending out maybe 150 different interview requests. Right, so there's a lot of people that are going to be participating in this particular project. But if you like what you heard and you want to participate, go to the About section of this page, reach out to me, and let's set up an interview. This is open for absolutely everybody. That's me. Take care.